Hey guys, I got some requests to look at Jake Knapp's swing to see how it works in conjunction with the GOAT code, and as you'll imagine, it's an awesome fit. So let's take a look at it. Note as he goes back how wide he keeps his wrists. This is something I'm going to be talking about in an upcoming video about exactly how the wrists and hands work, all three motions that they make in terms of rotation, deviation, extension, flexion, etc. So I'm working on that video now, but in the meantime, this is something that'll help you understand where speed comes from in the swing and control, because Jake swings well over 120 miles an hour, hits the ball a mile, and notice how little he's doing with his wrists as he goes back. He's keeping them wide. This gives you club face control, helps you create a wide arc, a wide turn. But also, as we look at down the line, you're going to see, it's hard to see from this angle, but he's going to keep his lead wrist in extension a long time. And a lot of times, people look at somebody like Dustin Johnson, who really shuts the face at the top or bows the wrist a lot, keeps the body rotation going through the hitting area in order to get the club to work through the ball. Whereas the old school way of thinking about it, I guess, if you will, or the way it's kind of always been thought of and done from golfers like Tiger and Jack, etc., is that they're releasing the hands, and you're going to see that here. So you can release the body, you can release the hands. Both will kind of create same results in very, very different ways. So you'll see as he comes down, obviously that left arm, left tricep is firing hard. So this is what you're going to see in golfers who release the club in a more conventional way, which is more with the arms and hands rotating over. You're going to see the wrist go into extension right there. So the opposite of what you would see in a lot of golfers who are trying to rotate their body through and hold that wrist flat or even bowed slightly through the hitting area. Effortless speed comes from releasing the hands, not the body, obviously. The body's going to work a heck of a lot harder to produce 127 mile an hour clubhead speed if you're holding off the release of the hands. Jake's not doing that here. It's obvious his wrist is moving into extension, a ton of rotation there, which we're going to see more from down the line view. And if you focus again on his body, his hips are obviously going to initiate. It's going to take out the slack in the upper body, take out the slack in the spine, and then his hands are doing all of the work, hands and arms. They're working down, moving way, way more than anything else, of course. And now as he gets into the release, lots of rotation and a nice relaxed follow through, a very easy swing on the body. When we look at it from down the line, you're going to see again that lead wrist maintaining extension. I'm going to be talking a lot about this in the upcoming video, as I mentioned. This is super important for creating effortless speed, is keeping that wrist in extension if you have a conventional release. If you're a body releaser, totally different set of requirements. But if you want your hands to have a lot of speed, you want that wrist to remain in extension very late into the swing. And you can see that here, he's still in extension, still in extension. So in other words, for those of you that don't know, the wrist is flat per se, but technically it's an extension. In other words, it's slightly cupped versus being very bowed like somebody you'd see in Dustin Johnson. Again, that's a body rotator. If you've got a flexible spine, you're super fit, and your body can take it, knock yourself out if you want to swing that way. For me, I like Jake's swing because I want to release my hands because it's zero stress on my body. And you're going to see as he comes down into the hitting area, it's all hand release, all hand forearm release. All the greats who've talked about releasing the club this way, all the old school golfers, Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, of course, Tiger Woods, of course, all release the club this way. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but this is the most efficient way, easiest way on the body, is just let your hands turn over. And to understand how much rotation there is, this is something that I think you can start to understand. And again, this future video that I'm working on with the hand and wrist movement is going to cover this. But notice how late in the downswing the logo on his glove is facing away from the target. A lot of times golfers are trying to rotate those knuckles down too much too soon. And even here you can see his logo of his glove still pointing well away from the target line, pointing almost 90 degrees away from him, which for many of you would feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to leave the club face open. I'm going to blast this thing off to the right. And of course, that doesn't happen, because there's going to be a ton of rotation of those hands through the hitting area, which again is kind of a lot of golfers, a lot of instructors are teaching the opposite of this, to hold that release off and turn the body really hard. You can definitely do that as well. But for effortless speed, this is the way to go. And this is what you need to feel. The logo of the glove needs to be pointing away from you down, this late in the downswing, and then have a ton of rotation, which I'm going to show you with data that's going to prove that this is exactly what happens in a conventional release. Is there, which you've heard me say for 20 years, the release is rotation. And here's the epitome of that. In order to have rotation, you need to have that logo of the glove facing away from you. And now watch just how much it's going to rotate. Now it's almost pointing down at the ground. And this is happening in milliseconds, right? So there's a tremendous amount of rotational speed, which is where that clubhead speed is largely coming from. So hopefully look forward to the next video. I'm going to talk about, again, everything that's exactly happening with the wrists and hands using data and a very cool little device that I think you're going to find very, very helpful to understand exactly how you should move your hands and wrists if you want effortless speed in the golf swing.